Hello, adventurer. It's good to see you. You have made it to the morning grind.
Welcome, welcome.
It's the live stream at the beginning of the Geekverse, where we talk about all types of topics in geekdom, gaming, and fantasy, with an emphasis on being constructive and creating the things that we want to exist in the world.
It's all on the grind, Sizemore. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
That's exactly right. There are a lot of adventures to be had today. Dungeons to explore and monsters to slay, and who knows what a random encounter might send our way. That's why we have to prepare. So settle in now for the morning grind with your favorite beverage in hand.
Tea? Or maybe something a little stronger. I've got a few bottles of the old Wynyard left.
Whatever you want. Pull up a chair.
Dude.
If you're feeling fancy, how about a cappuccino? Or a frappuccino? Or how about an espresso?
Just tea, thank you.
Sounds good to me, Gandalf. Whatever you want. I'm just glad you're here.
Everyone is welcome. You can just watch if you want. You don't have to worship anything you don't want to worship.
Thank you, Mike. But be forewarned.
Sometimes we get really strange characters around here.
Wait, what's that you say? Why can't you come and be a part of the stream?
My wife would disown me.
Oh no, I bet she'll be fine with it. Come on in.
Am I scared for my safety? No.
What are we supposed to do?
Everybody do the secret handshake.
Secret cultist handshake.
Oh, now do wizards who love each other.
This, my friend, is a science.
I still don't have gills, but it's fine.
It's all on the grind, son. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
Dude, this would be a sick place to bring the band.
Indeed it would be, Dave. It really would. I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. Glad to have you here. Oh, look, here's someone new.
Is this the cultist meetup?
Yes it is.
Come to hang out? Please accept me. I have nothing else.
Okay, we accept you. Everyone's welcome here.
Brought some snacks.
Well, that makes things even better.
You want some coffee? I don't drink coffee.
You sure? It's cultist coffee.
What makes it cultist coffee?
I'm a cultist and I'm drinking it.
Oh. Then I'll have some.
What exactly is going on here?
I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome, welcome. It's so great to have you. Oh, and look, here comes another stranger.
Can we help you?
Yes, fellow cultists. I could really use some food.
Oh yeah? Welcome. We have donuts.
Oh, it's me. I'm glad I'm here. I'm sure you have a few questions for me, though.
What's your name? Who do you work for? What god do you worship?
Great questions, Rob.
I'm Steve King, and I worship Nyarlathotep.
No, not really. I'm just Heath, and I won't be worshiping anything this morning. But I will be your host. Welcome to the office. We're going to have a great time. I've got my coffee ready, because now it's time for the morning grind.
If you could become a fish, that would be amazing. Then I could command you with my mental fish powers.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. It is fantastic to see you. Welcome to the office. Welcome to the morning grind. It is raining outside here, so if you hear some noise, I guess that's it. And hopefully there's no storm or something coming. I'm not sure. Hopefully that's not happening, and so I won't lose power or something like that. But that's always a risk down here in the country, so we'll see. Good morning. Stray is here. Yes, people have asked so often where Stray was. So yes, Stray is back, and it is fantastic to see you. I am so glad you're here. I saw that you sent me a DM, and I didn't get to it, but I just saw that this morning. Hey, James. Welcome, James. And Mike and Zero Theory, channel members all. So good to have you all here. Hey, good morning, Sable Phoenix and Daniel. We have a really great crew here today. So today, I thought we would continue to take a look at this rules cyclopedia because I turned something on over here accidentally. And maybe we should have even done this before. I wasn't really aware of this book, but I found this has been really interesting to look at to actually understand more of what the old school stuff is and what it is that people are trying to get back to when they are creating something like the old school OSR systems. But, you know, on the other hand, this exists now. This exists, so you can completely play old school. And I was talking to somebody in the comments in the YouTube video who were saying this is exactly what they've been running a game with for, I believe they said, the last 3 years. So, I think there are definitely reasons or some things that can be modernized and upgraded. I think that's been certainly a thing. Because some people say, okay, the old school charm, but we could use some more modern mechanics and streamlining and things like that. And I agree with that. I see why that's possible. But on the other hand, it plays pretty well as well. Zero Theory says, I think we see a lot of things in the book that people aren't running back to also. Yeah, well, that's true. So obviously, I don't know. I haven't really even seen we want to look at the domain level play today. We may get into that, but we see some people aren't headed back to that. They probably are not. Well, I have seen a couple of the level limits, but nonetheless, the general feel of what this game is, what it is that was obviously so enjoyed for so long. So, what else is going on? I was working on the Goodnight Sword Kickstarter page last night, so I don't have that up yet, but working on some graphics for it, but hopefully very soon. So, because I'd like to be able to get those things going, because we're going to get a plan here going for the next year. I realized that I had to add another place that I need to visit over the next year. I've got coffee this morning in the fish do not drink tea mug. So one thing I want to experiment with this morning is I want to consider adding in one or more extra segments to this show, because I'd been experimenting with going a little bit longer. Originally, I just went for 1 hour. I'd been experimenting with going for sometimes closer to 90 minutes. Let's just get deeper into a topic and also start. But one of the things we could do if we go to 90 minutes is discuss some things that are more topical in the Geekverse as far as news that's going on. And we can broaden that to more than just RPGs. Like we can talk about news in TV, games, film, because I'd like to be able to, this is the Geekverse here, so we can broaden things a bit beyond RPGs. That's no problem. It just so happens that we have started off very, very, very RPG heavy. And one of the things that I really like about this show, The Morning Grind, and also Table Talk, which is one where I interview people in the Geekverse, is that I think that the material that we create is generally evergreen. I mean, when I'm talking with Doug about the Silence of the Lambs, or Brianna and I are studying The Fall, or story structure, or when we're talking to someone about their RPG and their development, maybe they may be on Kickstarter at that very moment, but that doesn't mean that the Kickstarters, the RPG or whatever they're creating is going to exist after that as well. So if you're interested in hearing from the creator, or you want to learn more about stuff, I think there's a lot of reasons to go back and watch some of those shows. That's not, we were just talking about whatever it was that mattered today and won't matter tomorrow, right? But nonetheless, like for instance, Sable Phoenix was talking yesterday about something about the Pinkerton Agency and Wizards of the Coast and Magic the Gathering. And I guess I am just not connected on Magic the Gathering, because, I said I'm the most casual Magic the Gathering player in the world, and I haven't played in a while. I was trying to get my nephews involved. Didn't really take. They play. Like if I come over and we play, that we play, but that didn't really take. So I'm not really connected to that news source. But nonetheless, I was like, oh my God. Like actually some YouTube videos popped up after that. I was like, oh, wait a minute. I think this may have been what Sable Phoenix was talking about. So I think that we should talk about some things that are happening in the Geekverse in some type of segment. I haven't created graphics for it. But one thing that I just did, and I need to put some other information here. So it's like, how do we aggregate news? Because that's an issue when I was talking to Katie Wilson about that. Like, okay, where do we go for news in the tabletop Geekverse? And so what I did is I thought, well, this is just experimental. This is another experiment. I put a channel in the Discord server, which I guess I should put the link to if you were just finding your way here. So I thought that, well, now if you see something that is worthy of discussion in the news, then there's a News for the Grind Discord channel now. And so I can put stuff there, and that way I have links. But also if you see something like what was going on with that, hey, maybe this is something we ought to look at. Maybe this is something that we should discuss. So this is experimental, new experiment, always changing things or, thinking about how things could be better. We'll just see if it works and see if we like it. So there is that now. So if you see something that, because I'm not by any means connected with everything, but something that is newsworthy, we can go right there. So imagine there is a brief graphic or something right here where we go to the news. So, yeah, so I'm going to bring this up. And let's take a look at what I see over here. Yeah, see, the Pinkertons are high-level criminal bounty hunters. Zero Theory says, a year ago, I would have said WotC sending the Pinkertons after magic cards is an Onion article. Yeah, I totally would have, right? Like, that doesn't sound like what is going on here? So Sable Phoenix says they're more like corporate thugs, or it would be a shame if something happened to your house here variety. Strike breakers and union busters. So hold on, I gotta where did my window go for this? Oh, here it is. Okay. It was up on the screen, but I didn't have it over here. Okay, so I was trying to look at what was happening. So if you don't know what's going on, so this is a Gizmodo article. So I noticed that this was actually Linda Codega right here that says, a source says that Pinkerton agents have been used to track down leaks and stolen Magic the Gathering cards multiple times before. So actually, Magic Raid wasn't the first time Wizard of the Coast hired Pinkertons updated. So while the Magic expansion March of the Machine, the Aftermath, was supposed to be revealed at the beginning of May, canon actually this may be, let's go over here because that's an updated story right here, but I want to get the complete story here. It says Wizard of the Coast raids YouTuber's house to take back Magic the Gathering cards. A Magic the Gathering YouTuber found Pinkerton agents at his front door on Saturday morning. Sometimes you accidentally buy something before the street date, and you get bragging rights with your friends. In the case of one Magic the Gathering streamer, obtaining a box of cards early landed him in hot water with one of the most infamous private security companies in the world. You probably know about Pinkerton if you paid attention in American history class, or at least played Red Dead Redemption 2, which I have not. They were founded as a private detective agency, and its agents made history as effective strikebreakers against unions and organized labor. This is from Kotaku, by the way. Now that most cities have a public police force to intimidate workers, Pinkerton was forced to diversify into other forms of work, including the seizure of Magic the Gathering booster boxes, it seems. A YouTuber known as Dan Old School MTG Cannon claimed that he was shooting videos on Saturday morning when Pinkerton agents arrived at a private residence. His dog started barking at something and his wife answered the door. Pinkerton agents came knocking at the door to recover the stolen product from Wizard of the Coast, which was the March of the Machine's aftermath stuff. So March of the Machine, I guess what we're seeing right here in this is what's supposed to be out, because I've also not been following the releases. But March of the Machine Aftermath, so that's the expansion. So he thought he was getting March of the Machine, and he got March of the Machine Aftermath according to him. So this is an upcoming 50-card Magic the Gathering set that's scheduled for release on May 12th of this year. It's intended to be a supplement to the March of the Machine expansion, which came out Friday. The streamer intended to purchase the publicly available expansion set, but somehow received the supposedly unreleased Aftermath set instead. Cannon didn't think that his trading card dealer had intentionally broken the street date or that anyone involved had dealt with stolen product. What I believe happened is that the names are too similar. March of the Machine and March of the Machine Aftermath, and somebody screwed up and sent the wrong case. Which at least seems plausible to me. I mean, that seems like a credible claim and something plausible. In fact, it actually surprises me that something like that doesn't happen more often. As somebody who has dealt with warehouses and shipping and trying to, ship all kinds of items out across the world in the gaming environment, sometimes you're dealing with warehouses and people who are not looking, they don't care as much about your stuff as you care about your stuff, obviously, because it's your stuff. It's not their stuff. And of course, the best warehouses, of course, do spend a lot of time and a lot of care to make sure that everything's right, but some do not. And then, of course, there are also just mistakes. And I can completely see, like, oh, close that. What in the world? A mistake like that being made. I mean, that seems plausible to me. He noted the card dealer was more of a Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh guy and probably sold them thinking they were collector's edition. I'm just hoping this card dealer didn't also get the Pinkertons agent sent to his door too. Let's see what's going on over here. Good morning, Zero the Blade. Good to see you. Zero Theory says, yeah, they call them to intimidate, not to investigate. Zero the Blade says, Watsy's going to court for this for sure. You think somebody's going to take them to the guy is going to take them to court for this? This time the Pinkertons, Sable Phoenix says, this time the Pinkertons showed up at the old school MTG's house, threatened him with jail time unless he turned over the stolen property. They have no right to arrest anyone or to secure property. That was part of the weird stuff to me. They terrorized him and his wife over a shipping error. Not a great look for Wizards of the Coast after that PR disaster in the OGL. Yeah. Good morning, Brent. Good morning. I mean, I agree. Kotaku reached out to Canon and Wizards of the Coast. Spokespersons for Wizards of the Coast confirmed over email that the private detectives had been sent as part of their investigation. Okay, so a spokesperson at Wizards of the Coast confirmed over email that the private detectives had been sent as part of their investigation. In his video, like, you know, if you're Wizards of the Coast, like I said, knowing shipping the way that I do. Now, of course, it's not like, on the other hand, that the warehouses they work with are unfamiliar with something. Oh, this doesn't go out to a certain date or something like that. Okay, that happens all the time. But if you're Wizards of the Coast, whoa, it's really raining. If you're Wizards of the Coast, you're going to say, you know what's going to happen at some point, something that is supposed to not go out when we're shipping, you know, all these things to the warehouses and trying to get everything prepped for a release. At some point, some mistake is going to be made and some of these cards are going to go out early. Maybe in the era before the internet, that didn't matter quite as much, because if somebody got a set a few days before, or 2 weeks or whatever before they were supposed to, well, there isn't really a great way for them to share it with the world. Especially, right, Zero Theory, especially with almost the exact same wording. It is like, right, for the product. Exactly. I mean, that's why it seems plausible to me that there's just an error here. I mean, there could be an error even if they were different boxes or something. Somebody didn't know what they were actually looking at. But they were so close. That's why it seems plausible to me. But my point was that Wizards of the Coast should have some type of protocol other than this. Like, all right, in the age of the internet, first of all, we can try to tighten down and make sure the people who are shipping things, you know, pay extra close attention to stuff like that. But sometimes, but eventually a mistake is going to happen. We do this long enough, a mistake is going to happen. What do we do? Ask the guy to take the video down until the street date or something like that? I mean, you know, not send somebody in to intimidate him. In his video, Cannon explains the agents asked him to call Watsy to clear up the incident. The gentleman there was very nice and apologetic, and I think this is talking about the guy he talked to at Watsy. And very apologetic about making my wife cry first thing this morning by sending the heavy-duty lawman coming to collect stuff and talk about stolen products and jail time, he said. I don't know if they believe that anybody stole anything or if this was just an accident, but they wanted the product back so they could figure out where the hole was. He did apologize. Again, I believe that's the Wizards of the Coast person he was talking to on the phone. And they know they took a lot of stuff that we had paid a lot of money for. They did say they would compensate us by sending over some of the other product, which seems minimal. I mean, that seems the most minimal thing that you can do after you have that happen to you. And like you had a few boxes of cards and they're like, oh, we'll send you the right boxes of cards. The Pinkerton employees, on the other hand, were less cordial to the YouTuber. Cannon told Kotaku over email they had threatened to get the county sheriff involved if he did not return the Magic the Gathering cards. They cited statutes with punishments such as a $200,000 fine and up to a decade of jail time. Yeah, I was reading that in one of the other articles that they kind of seemed to badgered their way into the house, according to one account, and then we're threatening him with all of this stuff, and want to make him account for like this purchase status of all of his Magic the Gathering cards or something like that. Yeah, wow. I feel like this guy deserves a lot more than a few booster boxes after Watsy used literal Pinkerton agents to intimidate his family. If the detectives knew where the man lived, they could have easily sent a sternly worded letter first. Several YouTubers commenters felt similarly and added that the toy company had probably been nice when he called them because he had grounds for a lawsuit. So it could be. So we will see. Cannon seemed to be cooperative with Watsy. He asked reposters to take down any clips or screenshots of his Aftermath pack opening video. So that was it. So he not only got them, but I guess expecting what he had, he posted a YouTube video about opening up, which he had removed from the account at the company's request. They apologized for going through such drastic means of sending Pinkertons to my front door, he said. James says, this whole situation has been nuts. Yeah, Sable Phoenix says they're not lawmen, though. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, the Pinkertons actually, Sable Phoenix also says the Pinkertons actually have laws named after them to prevent their thuggery. So I think that seems to be the story. And like it seems to be another reason to not pay attention to Wizards of the Coast. Like I said, I had not been following Magic the Gathering. I had purchased some because I thought it would be a kind of easy way to get the nephews gaming. Didn't really take. I think I've got some Magic the Gathering decks up behind me. I was told that I actually create Magic the Gathering decks in the absolute worst way possible. So this says, old school MTG uploaded another video. In the clip, the YouTuber says Pinkerton agents showed up on his home on Saturday morning and began to demand that he hand over stolen product. I got up to record some videos. Old school MTG states, right after I got in with the videos, dogs started barking because somebody was at the door. I came out and the wife's answering the front door and it was the Pinkertons. If you live in the U.S., the Pinkertons need no introduction. The company is one of the oldest private security firms with its original incarnation, the Pinkerton Detective Agency, dating back to 1850. During the late 1900s and 19th and early 20th century, the Pinkertons made a name for themselves with their anti-union operations, a job they continue to do into the 21st century. Old school MTG speculates the person he bought the unreleased cards from likely didn't know they sent him an unreleased set. Somebody screwed up and sent out the wrong cases to the gentleman that I bought the boxes off of. Because then when he sold me the stuff, he said he was selling me March of the Machines collector boxes, not Aftermath. So there we go. So this was what Linda was saying over here. Hey, Nathaniel. Yeah, Paul Singleton says, depending on the state, citizen's arrest can be a thing. If it applies, they could make an arrest. Or they said, or in one of these things I was reading, they said that they were going to hold him here until the sheriff arrived or something like that. But this is exactly the question that I would ask again. This was one of the questions with the OGL situation that we had. Like, what exactly is, like, how far up the chain was it that the OGL situation was, or the OGL situation was made, that call made? Screwed up that sentence. But how far up the chain were we actually working there? And then also, we never really found out about Hasbro, right? But here, I would be extremely curious about this as well. Like, who exactly at Wizards of the Coast is making this call? Is it the same person? I mean, I would want to know. Like, I don't get it. I know James says if they had come to my door, they would have gotten laughed at. Of course, I can't really imagine what that's like. I mean, especially if your wife is at the door and they're sound like bullying her in general. And according to, like I said, one account, something like trying to push their way in or something like that, like, get out of here. Like, I think I would have been, I was thinking about this and I think I would be tempted, like, if something like that happens, if something like that ever happens to me and I have a few moments, what I'll do is just turn on a live stream or something like that. So you could at least hear while something was going on or something. Hopefully I won't have anything approaching that level of drama. But I was thinking about that. Like, what are you doing? You're saying that you're going to make me account for millions of Magic cards? I'm full on discontinuing my customer relationship with all Hasbro products. James says, hey, Nathaniel, good morning. Another member. Welcome, Daniel. Welcome, Nathaniel. Zero Theory says, yeah, as of right now, I never plan to give Watsy a penny again. They just haven't been, making a lot of things that I wanted to buy anyway. I almost went to see the Dungeons and Dragons movie because I was already up at a movie theater. It takes me about 45 minutes to drive to a movie theater when I went to see John Wick. I didn't end up doing it, but I can't see, like, this is insane. Nate Jones says, my wife and I owned a game store for 25 years until some personal reasons caused us to have to retire in 2018. We dealt with all manner of stuff, but I've never seen anything like this. Watsy used to be a great company. They have fallen so far. I think about, like, as far as like breaking street date, I remember there was an incident. I used to work at a video rental store. I worked doing the actually VHS rental, right? We actually did have some DVDs, but I was working there when we were actually renting VHS tapes. And of course, that was the deal too. You had the street date for the different movies. And I remember preparing the wall and everything like that for the movies that were going to be released. And you could rent, the employees at the store could rent the movies before they came out. But of course, they had to be back in the store before the street date, and then you couldn't rent them as an employee for 30 days after that to make sure the customers got them. But, it was a big deal that you didn't want the movies. You couldn't rent those to customers before they went out. And one day, that night before the Tuesday that the movies came out on, make sure everything was in the store Monday night. And then I realized, was there with the manager, that one of the movies that was supposed to be there was not there. We're like, well, where is it? And of course, you looked it up in the computer and it was checked out by a customer. And I was like, oh my God, what has happened? This movie has been checked out prior to street date. What is going to happen? And first of all, who did it? And I was like, wait, who checked this movie out to somebody? And it was me. It was me like a couple of hours ago. Because it was one of these very similar situations with the name being almost the same. There was like Deep Impact and Deep Blue. That may not have been exactly that, but I remember it was some movie that was deep something, and there was already some kind of deep something on the wall. And so what I had done is found one of the new movies that was also deep something, accidentally put it on the wall behind the other deep movie that was already released and available for rent. And then that person had come up to get that movie. And I always checked, that was back when you had to check to be sure that the VHS was actually in the right box, right? So I'm sure that I checked to be sure that the box and the movie was right. And I was like, yep, that's right. And it just didn't click with me that was actually the one that was supposed to come out tomorrow. And I checked it out. Now I remember, like, we were like, oh my God, what's going to happen to us? So like when you're talking about name confusion or something like that happening, we called the person. They were like, oh yeah, you're right. We did get the wrong movie. We were supposed to get something else. And we were like, can you please bring that back? And they were like, well, we will tomorrow. We were like, okay. But like, what's going to happen to us? So that was just a mistake, that what are you going to do to people? So they absolutely, hey, so we got Jason. I wish I could pull up the Jason stream. So they absolutely trespassed as minimum. This is covered under the AG under consumer fraud. Daniel says they came to your door like mafia enforcers. Kind of hard to laugh in their face. Well, that's why I say, what exactly, like, you kind of have to prepare yourself like for a situation like that, which you may completely not be. So Zero the Theory says, if it was the CEO, then yes, she did the same thing when she was at Microsoft. Nate says that YouTuber should have documented it. I mean, like I said, Nate says that YouTuber should have documented, not give anything to them, and actually call the police on the Pinkertons. If you have enough awareness, like I said, I don't know what my first response would be if that were happening to me in the moment. Lord Lawless says everyone should stop referring to it as stolen property. There's no evidence of that. It's just playing into Watsy's reframing of the narrative of the story. Well, I haven't seen that. I've seen that it was alleged stolen, right? I mean, that's what they were saying. But this guy seems credible. It seems very credible in his way of saying how he got this. Let's see. James says there was a GW leak recently. They accidentally sent a new model to a customer who made a purchase for the old one. You know what they did? They changed their schedule to announce early. Really? Huh. Well, I mean, that's probably even more than you have to do, right? James says GW is absolutely handling a similar situation way better. Nate says Games Workshop is not anti-consumer. I have issues with them as a retailer, but they have pretty good customer support. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure where he was. Let's see. But see, so Linda is continuing here. He somehow acquired them and showed them on his YouTube channel, revealing about 75% of the limited release set. Within a week, Canon says Pinkerton agents knocked on Canon's door and demanded he turn over all the cards from the unreleased set. He had released videos on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. The agents arrived on Saturday morning, he said. According to Wizards of the Coast, the company sent an investigator as part of an investigation into the unauthorized distribution and disclosure of embargoed product, and only after several phone calls went unanswered. The investigator, the company said, visited him and asked that he reached out to us as part of our investigation and returned the embargoed product and packaging. The investigator, the company says, visited him and asked that he reach out to us as part of his investigation and return the embargoed product and packaging. He agreed to do both. We are replacing all of the unreleased product with the product that he intended to purchase. So, okay, I think this was it. So in an email exchange with IO9, this is Gizmodo here. Canon confirmed the statements that he made on video and added additional context, stating that as soon as my wife answered the door, they aggressively asked for me by my full name, announced themselves as the Pinkerton Agency, which I'm very familiar with their reputation, and said they were here to recover stolen goods. After his wife asked them to wait outside, Canon said that they forced themselves at least partially through the door and prevented her from closing the door all the way. Then Canon eventually got to the door. He said when he got to the door, he said he assertively moved everyone outside and told the agents that they needed to treat the Canons with more respect. They did eventually dial it back and become more civil after that, he said. At some point, Canon alleges the treatment by the agents made his wife cry. Wizards of the Coast says it strongly refutes this depiction of events, which contradicts both the report from the investigation as well as the conversation between the individual and the Wizards of the Coast representative after the interaction in question. The company also stated that under no circumstances would we instruct any employee or contracted agency to intimidate an individual. Then why are you sending these people out? According to Canon, the agents continued to claim that he was in possession of stolen property and said that if Canon didn't hand over the product immediately, they would escalate the situation to local law enforcement. They claimed copyright infringement, and said I would face between 1 and 10 years of jail, Canon said. They also allegedly threatened that this incident could result in up to $200,000 in fines plus all legal fees. It's just magic cards. It's just magic cards. I mean, I'm obviously big on lots of things in the Geekverse, but at the end of the day, we're only talking about magic cards here. Yeah, exactly. Zero Theory says, yeah, it's easy to say what we would have done, but imagine just some typical morning. Like you may even still be sitting here in like your pajamas or something, enjoying a cup of coffee. And then all of a sudden that's happening outside. Yeah, it's easy to say what we would have done. Just imagine some typical morning and guys are flashing their badges outside your house and yelling. Well, and especially also since they are just magic cards and somebody like this shows up and has a major, major problem. Like, obviously, like all this is going down and all this is going down. And they're only after, like, the problem is the magic cards that you have. Like, you might be inclined to, like, just hand them the magic cards and get them to leave. Oh, Mike. Mike says, I still get some of the board game stuff via Avalon Hill, such as Hero Quest, Risk, etc. But I don't see much outside of that. We had that conversation yesterday because I'm live streaming Hero Quest tomorrow. That's coming up. Tomorrow night, 6:30, I'm live streaming Hero Quest. I'm still a Hero Quest fan, and generally speaking, and that's put out by Avalon Hill, which is owned by Hasbro. So and there are some other Avalon Hill games that we like, So I'm still up in the air on that. I'm obviously, I mean, the stuff that you bought, you know, I bought all this Hero Quest stuff, so I'm going to use it and I'm going to play it and I'm going to stream it. But at the moment, I'm still okay with buying some of the Avalon Hill stuff, like you're talking about here. You know, of course, that's one of the things that you don't know. Like, I would guess that Hasbro didn't order this, right? That we're talking about somebody at Wizards of the Coast. So, of course, if you're at Hasbro, you're like, let's try to rein this under control in some way. James says, I have so much to say about this. WotC has the invoice number, the tracking number, product ID numbers. They knew exactly what was moving and when. If they wanted to contact him, they should have emailed. If he didn't reply, then oh well. Right, an investigator, Zero Theory says. Well, at some place, it says that the phone calls went unanswered. That he might have tried to call him, but the phone calls went unanswered. But also, I can believe that. You try to call me, like, what are the chances that I'm going to answer the phone? Chances are small. I mean, I've got my phone set so that because the spam calls that everybody gets, I mean, if your number isn't in my phone, connected to a name as part of my contacts, I have my phone set to not ring. I imagine that's pretty standard with everybody. Like if you're in my, you know, so there's like hundreds of phone calls that I've missed, most of which are spam, right? But if some number from Wizards of the Coast tried to call me even several times, chances are I would not answer, right? I mean, chances are I would not even answer the phone. I wouldn't even hear it. The phone wouldn't even ring. If you emailed me, then chances are I would get back to you. I mean, see that faster. Vladimir says in Europe, they'd be brought to court for this kind of practices. This is surreal. Oh, yeah, that's a good. Lord Lawless says, if you have any interest, we should all subscribe to Old School Magic the Gathering. Let me see if I can find a link for his channel. It's like I said, I'm not on YouTube. I'm not on YouTube. I'm not on the Magic the Gathering. I'm Old School MTG. I don't do a whole lot on the Magic side of things. Okay, here is his channel right here. I'll put the link in here. Old School MTG YouTube channel. I'll also put that in the Discord server so that if you want to check out his channel, I'll put it in the Morning Grind. The Morning Grind channel on Discord. That way, if you're looking for that, you can easily find it. Good. Thank you for pointing that out, Lord Lawless. Thank you. James says, postal law says if you receive something sent to you in error, you own it. Yeah, well, I know. I mean, Vladimir's talking about guns here. I mean, and I'm not sure where he is, but I'm here in Alabama. I mean, something like that, guns can come out, right? I mean, it actually surprises me. Like, you get somebody knocking on your door, like not leaving. Like I said, that's what exactly Zero Theory was saying. I mean, when all this happens on a typical Saturday morning, I mean, who knows what happens? But I mean, if you're doing that kind of thing, here in many parts of the U.S., guns might come out if you're trying to force your way into somebody's house. Yeah, and this wasn't even sent in error. Zero Theory says, I watched one of the guy's Magic videos. He doesn't show his face, but he sounds like a senior citizen. Oh, please, thank you, Vision. Please do hit the like button. If you are here, please do hit the like button and subscribe. James says, you don't have to open the door for anyone without a warrant, and you don't have to talk to anyone, even if they do produce a warrant. I don't want to come off like some crazy, but this is crazy. You know, that's why I've got the, one of the reasons that I've got the speakeasy in my front door. I wanted it just for aesthetic reasons as well. But it's always nice to be able to open the speakeasy in my front door. You see it on Dinner and a Board Game. So I can see, you know, talk to whoever's out there and then close it. Yeah, who answers unknown numbers? Nobody. All right, so let me just finish this, what Linda is saying here. So this, Cannon says, was his first interaction with the Pinkerton agents, and they came and that they told him they tried to confront him at his house on Friday, but no one was home. Cannon said that they tried to confront him at his house on Friday, but no one was home. Cannon said in a video uploaded April 25 that the Pinkerton agents, after attempting to go to Cannon's house, began door knocking at the homes of his neighbors, asking for information about him and saying that he had an appointment with Cannon. According to Cannon, the Pinkerton agents said that they didn't want to call me before showing up because they didn't want me to have time to react and get rid of the cards. But why would you do that? Like why would you, like, oh my God, I've got to get rid of the cards. Like, let's just pretend that somebody did get him on the phone, and you're just a normal, you handle this normally as like a Wizards of the Coast representative. We're sending somebody over. I don't want you to react to get rid of the cards. Like if somebody called me and said, you accidentally have some cards that you're not supposed to have. It was reason. Oh, really? I didn't know that. Oh, I'm terribly sorry. I'll take down that video. Like, and I won't release it until May 2nd or 12th or whatever it is. I mean, that doesn't seem like the response that I'd have. Additionally, Cannon says that he had no interaction with Wizards of the Coast before the incident on Saturday morning. Cannon was given the number to call, and so he did so while the Pinkertons were in his home. When he reached a Wizards of the Coast employee, they said that they had attempted to call him on Friday, but because it was via an unlisted number, Cannon didn't pick it up. Right, okay. Cannon says the Wizards of the Coast employee did not leave a voicemail or send an email. Now, I mean, I'm bad about listening to voicemail. I probably got a bunch of voicemail. Like, I even say on my voicemail, text me or send me an email, because I'm probably not going to listen to this voicemail. But when they first finally talked on the phone, they asked what Magic the Gathering cards he would like. According to the Wizards of the Coast, the company initiated several phone calls to the individual in order to make contact, though we understand why he would be reluctant to answer an unknown number. When we were unable to make contact by phone, local contractors were asked to try to make contact and request help in the investigation, including the return of the product, which can aid in our investigation. But it just seems also calling this just an investigation. The investigation would be, now, wait a minute, how did this box leave our warehouse? Or, what happened there? Like, we're not investigating that guy. The company also confirmed that it offered to replace all the unreleased product with the correct released cards. Cannon told IO9 that he believes he receives the cards because of a distribution error. He says that he was not aware of any embargo on revealing these cards and says that YouTubers frequently open early boxes and are allowed to show off the cards early. He claims he purchased these cards for about $4,000. Oh, whoa. So he spent quite a bit of money on this. He claims he purchased the cards about $4,000 under the impression they were from the already released set March of Machines, and there would be no restrictions or rules given him at any point. Wizards of the Coast declined to comment on Cannon's explanation of how he got the cards, stating that whatever happened leading up to this individual receiving the cards is still under investigation. A simple email or phone call from Wizards of the Coast, and I would have cooperated, Cannon says. There's absolutely no need to send such notorious agency to my house to frighten my wife and threaten us. And most of us would, right? A phone call, email, something like that. I mean, most people, especially if you're a fan and you're YouTubing and stuff like that, and then you get a call from one of the publishers that, or email, and, there's been a mistake, there's an error, can you help us out? Like, most everyone's just going to comply and try to fix the situation. I really do appreciate the support from the Magic community during this, Cannon says. I love the game since I started playing back in 1994, and I do intend on continuing the channel and opening more products. Cannon says he is a hobbyist, not a full-time or even part-time content creator or influencer, and until this weekend, he had less than 4,000 followers on his YouTube channel. Sending bullish private investigators to Cannon's house in order to retrieve product would be a massive overreaction to a problem that's typically solved with a letter from a lawyer. Well, and also, how many people saw that? This could possibly be a Streisand effect, too. So it's not like he had this massive channel where everybody's... No, I think it got out. Like, once all this happened, then it got out. Or it could have been that it could have gotten out or shared around earlier if the small number of people who had seen his channel did realize that, oh my God, he's got like early access to something. So I guess it could have gotten out that way. Additionally, there would have been no need to ask for physical cards back. Additionally, there may have been no need to ask for the physical cards back. Wizards of the Coast could have tracked the origin of the product using the foil wrappers that the cards came in or the cardboard boxes, both of which have means for tracking and distribution printed on their surfaces. this could have happened to anyone, and it's pretty ridiculous if these tactics were employed against a man who's literally just some guy. Yeah, I mean, I also think that too. Like, why wouldn't you let him keep? It's not like they aren't going to be coming out in May. I think at minimum, I would have you just keep those. Maybe there is some information on a box or something like that you like. Can you please give me that so that I can track that down and just find out what happened on our distribution perspective? Please take down your video and put it up on the 12th. And then we'll also send you, in addition, the material that you thought you were buying. That way you've got both of them. I mean, that would have been a reasonable way to handle this. But the alleged incident with Canon isn't the first time the Pinkertons have been dispatched to retrieve Magic the Gathering cards. Sources who were unwilling to share their names for fear of retribution by Wizards of the Coast told IO9 that back in 2017, Pinkerton employees were sent out to investigate the theft of an uncut sheet of foil cards from the then upcoming expansion Elyxian. Elyxian. The Elyxian foil sheets have been something of a legend in modern Magic spaces, and while the original response from Wizards of the Coast is currently unavailable on their site, the archived version exists. The company was transparent about the illegal nature of the theft, and Scott Kelly, who was in 2017 the vice president, creative and production studios, stated that in that post that in order to retrieve the stolen property, Wizards of the Coast worked with a number of groups and individuals, including private investigators who specialize in supply chains, cybersecurity experts, and local law enforcement. Another source told IO9 that after the sheet was stolen, someone attempted to sell it at the gaming store where they were working. The store immediately recognized it as stolen property and called Wizards of the Coast to report it. Later, the sources alleged that a Pinkerton detective came to the store and began conducting interviews with the staff. During these interviews, the agent said that Wizards of the Coast had a lot of these sorts of problems, as the Pinkertons had been used multiple times to help solve them. There were other connections between Wizards of the Coast and the Pinkerton agency. Robert M. Kilmeck, who had been the director security risk management at Hasbro for 12 years, was previously the director of supply chain security practice at Pinkerton Consulting and Investigations. The current manager of global investigations is also a former Pinkerton agent. They have not responded for a request to comment. What a story. What an event. Streisand effect, Zero Theory, Streisand effect, exactly. Let me see. Zero Theory says, yeah, I'm sure this PR is totally worth the excitement of not ruining this set to players. This alone taints the set, that they cared that much. Yeah, Nate says, the investigation is trying to figure out the chain of ownership. The boxes have tracking codes in them and will tell WotC which distributor screwed up. So, all right. Well, there we go. Yeah, crazy. So, all right. That actually took a lot longer than I was expecting, but nonetheless, I think that's also worth talking about. Like, because I remember liking Wizards of the Coast too. I remember when they bought. Of course, I remember them from Magic the Gathering, and then I remember it being a big deal when they were about to buy Dungeons and Dragons and stuff like that. So, in the past, there's been a lot of stuff for. Wizards of the Coast has done a lot of great things, but man, this is crazy. So, all right, that's worth talking about. But all right, we are going to continue then with the main topic. So that was the news section. So now imagine I've got another graphic that comes in here that says now we're going over to the main topic, and which is the rules cyclopedia. Oh, and you know what? So I'm gonna need an index card or something here to give me my structure here, because we didn't take our sip. So we're gonna have to put out where we put the sip at the beginning or before the main topic or whatever. But I got coffee this morning, and so let's take a look at this. But let's breathe first. If you're new here, 2 deep breaths, then complete exhale, then take a sip of your favorite beverage you've got this morning. So here we go. Deep breaths. And sip. All right. Let's bring up the Cyclopedia. Here it is. And actually, if you give me 15 seconds, my coffee got cold. I'm going to go fill the coffee right over here in the kitchen. Give me 15 seconds. All right. All right. Thank you, everybody, for hanging with me. All right. Let's go over here. And see what's going on. All right. So last time, we were looking at weapon mastery, which I'm very glad. I forget who it was, but somebody had pointed out in the comments that we need to look at weapon mastery. Now, that was an optional rule, and also general skills. So those were optional rules. We're talking about how to customize our characters. The weapon mastery, that there was a lot there. I was not expecting to see something like that in D&D. If you missed that yesterday as this optional rule, that was some complexity right there that I would expect more from something like Rollmaster or Harn or something like that, which was obviously not present. Now, weapon mastery was present in AD&D, but it was simplified. So somebody, instead of advanced D&D, like, oh, do we need this? Oh, no, hold on. Let's simplify this a bit more. Okay, so what we want to look at, we could just scroll through combat. I don't know that it's much more different. It's much different than a lot of other things. So it might not be there. Now, I think it's interesting that we have mass combat here. Because mass combat, we were looking at mass combat in one of the other systems not long ago. But D&D generally doesn't cover that. So I think it's interesting that it is here. It's here in the rules Cyclopedia. Experience, non-player characters, but we definitely want to look at stronghold play, and then also I'm interested in what's going on with the dungeon master. Let's take a look at initiative, just so we know how this worked. Zero Theory says, we are under monetized. Call the Pinkertons and cancel the OGL. Oh yeah, I was seeing you said something about that in the comments. Mass combat, I made a browser game of, and the Dominion rulership was fun. Might have to revisit that one day. I think that I played a really free-form game with my brother and uncle where we were basically doing a kind of Dominion thing about exploring and conquering an island. So I like the idea of having multiple characters that you're playing. You know, your multiple characters in the D&D D&D campaign that are all at different levels and doing different things and become resources for each other. So this is group initiative with individual initiative optional. So the GM rolls D6 for the NPCs. One player rolls D6 for the player characters. The side that rolls the highest acts first. In case of a tie, all actions this round are simultaneous. So we also don't see that as often anymore, right? Just a declaration that in the event that you tie, your actions are simultaneous. So that, one side could go, the other side could go, then somebody else could take a second turn, right? Before you get to react. But on the other hand, you're just rolling D6s. So the chances of both rolling the same number are pretty reasonable. So that's going to happen in combat, and you need to adjudicate then action simultaneously. Actually, I think that was when I was looking at AD&D. I've got some videos here on initiative and stuff. Things related to initiative and the way that different games do it. So simultaneous that might have been in AD&D as well. 16.7% of the time. Kronos gives us. So the group that wins the initiative gets to act first. Note the group that wins the initiative does not have to attack. The players and the DM could decide based on the circumstances whether the characters wish to talk, move around, run away, or attack. Likewise, the monsters will decide based on the situation they see and the ability to interpret it and their customary behavior what they will do to win initiative. Sometimes some will have no interest in fighting. Some territorial will warn the PCs away from their lairs but not attack unless they are intruded upon. Some will trade or exchange information. Some will merely attack. So ties. If each side rolls the same number of initiative, then all actions happen at once. The actions are simultaneous, and neither side wins initiative. In a round where things are happening simultaneously, every player and monster who chooses to attack gets to roll all of his attacks. Even if one character's attacks killed an opponent, the opponent gets to roll all of his attacks because they're taking place simultaneously. Characters who choose to run will do so. If another character chooses to attack the runner, he gets to make his attack. If the attack misses or fails to kill the runner gets his full movement. Characters who choose to talk to get a few words in of what they meant to say before violence erupts. Assuming that violence does erupt, perhaps everyone wanted to talk. All the characters who decided to attack or run to do so, and the character who chose to talk can run or attack as he chooses. So, simultaneous. I don't think that, man. If I have, it has been a long time since we've run a simultaneous round. Like, I don't remember doing that in 3rd edition. I don't remember that doing that in 5th edition. So alternatively, we have individual initiative. Every player rolls d6 for his character. The DM rolls a separate d6 for each monster or NPC. High rolls go first in the round. In the case of a tie, the tied parties roll again. High roll going first until all ties are resolved. We did a lot of individual initiative, especially with something like weapon speed. I remember using that in AD&D. Not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. We do have morale. So here is part of our not uniform action resolution system. So the morale is used as a 2d6 roll against a creature's morale found in the monster's description, trying to roll less than or equal to that. When to check morale at the start of an invasion. If a group tries to evade encounters, the DM rolls to see if the creatures give chase. During a chase, every 5 combat rounds, success means the creatures continue to give chase, and failure means they break off the chase. In combat, when the creature is first hit, taking 1 or more points of damage. In combat, when the creature is reduced to 1/4 or less of its starting hit points. In combat with the first death on either side, PC or NPC monster takes place. The DM makes 1 morale roll for the remaining creatures to see if they will continue. In combat, when half the creatures are not free to act because they are dead, asleep, controlled, etc. In combat, when the creature or NPC is subject to Weapon Master's Despair effect. At any time when the creature or NPC is subject to a magical attack or spell that calls for a morale check. Combat maneuvers include throw, fire, cast spell, use magic item. Oh, here's our table. Throw, fire, cast spell, use magic item, attack, fighting, withdrawal, retreat, lance attack, set spear versus charge. We still need to find out what exactly that is. Multiple attack and lance attack, because that was talked about during characters. Smash, parry, or disarm. Okay, set spear. So here is here's lance attack. Okay. If a character is on a riding steed, such as a horse, and is using a lance, he can perform a lance attack if his mount runs, flies, swims for 20 yards or more toward the fighter's target. The character gets his strength and magic adjustments to the attack roll and damage with the lance attack maneuver. The lance, if it hits, will inflict double damage with a successful hit. Roll the damage for the lance, multiply the result by 2, and then apply all appropriate adjustments. Without enough room to charge, if the mount moves less than 20 yards or is stationary, the lance does normal damage only. I've got to come up with some good jousting and lance rules for Rabavania. It actually makes me wonder how GURPS adjudicates that. Like how GURPS figures out how much damage a lance should be doing, probably based on the velocity of the steed. Yeah, morale checks are good, Stargate Mind says. Because, not everything is going to fight to the death. So, okay, the lance will inflict double damage on a successful hit. Okay, so we just said that. Fighters, dwarves, and elves can use lance attack, but no other character classes may do so. If a character has the multiple attack maneuver, he may choose the lance attack maneuver for any attack he makes in a round. However, he cannot hit the same target time after time. He must choose a new target along his mount's line of movement for each attack, and therefore he must be capable of hitting each target with an attack roll of 2. So set spear versus charge. A character on foot and carrying a spear, pike, sword, shield. I think that's a type of shield. A sword, shield, or I guess a shield with a sword on it, or lance can set the weapon versus a charge. A charge is when a monster charges the character, that is, runs toward him for 20 or more yards before the attack. A character can also set his spear versus another character's lance attack against him. When a character sets versus charge, he holds the weapon firm, braced against the ground and toward the on-rushing enemy. That character gets his strength and magical adjustments to his attack and damage rolls. If the character's attack hits, he inflicts double damage on his target, adding damage adjustments after doubling. Probably a GURPS things that you would use the velocity of the incoming mount or the incoming attack, the mount, to inflict damage if you have like a pike set against it. The character must declare a set spear versus charge before he is in hand-to-hand combat with the creature charging him. For example, if the character's party wins initiative on the round and the character suspects the monster will charge, he could declare his set spear versus charge maneuver. Likewise, the character must see a group of charging monsters several rounds before they arrive, or might see, so set the spear against the charge one or more rounds ahead of time. Normally, the character might make his attack on the monster's movement phase, when the monster first moves within range of the weapon. If he attacks and kills the monster cannot hurt him in return. If the attack fails to kill the monster will have been able to attack on his own hand-to-hand combat phase in the sequence. Okay. Smash, parry, disarm. The attack roll. So our procedure is the attacker looks on the attack rolls table, all characters, and finds the armor class of his target. Oh, wait, so we've got... I was saying that we didn't see our Thaco. Actually, have we actually read the word Thaco in this? I'm not sure, because we were saying that seemed to be something that was missing from the character classes. It wasn't giving me a Thaco value. So I said it must be down here in the combat. So this is it. Okay, I'm glad we stopped by this section. Finding out the old school way to have done this. Vladimir says size of animal landing on size animal attacked as attack multiplier could be thematic in Rabivania, as you have size categories. It could be, yes. Yeah, to hit our Thaco here. So wait a minute. So we've got all right. I have to figure out what all this means. Okay, so we've got MU, class, and level. Okay, what is this saying? Okay. All characters. Was there something at the bottom? Okay. Attack roll table all monsters. Creatures hit die, armor class. Okay, I wasn't expecting to have to decipher a table like this. So what is MU, CTD, class, and level? Oh, MU must be magic user then. Cleric, thief, dwarf, fighter. D. What's D? Druid? Okay, druid maybe. H. Halfling. Cleric. We had cleric, thief, fighter, magic user, as well as dwarf, elf. Where's elf? And halfling. That must be what that is. Okay. The attacker looks at the attack rolls table, all characters, and finds the armor class of his target. The number given on the table is the number he needs to achieve with his roll and bonus to hit his target. Weapon mastery optional. Because they help determine how often a character can use multiple attacks, weapon mastery attack bonuses are applied to the character's attack roll. If a character needs to roll an 18 to hit someone, but has a +2 bonus for weapon mastery, he actually needs a 16 for successful attack. Optional. The victim's armor class may be modified by partial exposure if the attacker is using a missile weapon and the victim is only exposed for part of the round. See cover adjustments later in this chapter. The attacker rolls 1d20. The attacker adjusts pertinent bonuses to his 1d20 roll. Pertinent bonuses include strength adjustment for melee attacks, dexterity adjustment for missile or thrown weapon attacks, magic bonuses either from spells affecting the character or magic weapons being used. The attacker subtracts pertinent penalties from his d20 roll. Pertinent penalties include cover if missile attack and the cover is partially concealed, optional. Magical curses such as the curse effect, combat ability, and attack roll. If the result of the modified d20 roll equals or exceeds the number on the attack roll table, all characters, the attack roll table, all characters, the attacker has hit his target. Important note, an unadjusted or natural roll of 1 always misses. An unadjusted natural roll of 20 always hits. If it's possible for the attack to hit the target. If the result was a hit, the attacker now rolls damage. First, he rolls the damage listed on the weapon or attack. This is much more old school because of the tables here. So in that sense, I suppose that AD&D simplified this attack mechanic too. I was expecting it to be very much like the AD&D attack mechanic, and I guess it is, but similar, but done in table format. Let's see. Then the attacker adds any pertinent rolls to damage. Pertinent bonuses include strength adjustments, magical bonuses. The attacker's entire strength score is added to the damage if the attacker's entire strength score is added to the damage if he performed the smash maneuver. What was the smash maneuver? I saw that briefly. So this is a fighter combat option maneuver first available to 9th level to fighters and mystics and other experience point total demi-humans. With the hand-to-hand maneuver, the character automatically loses initiative and takes a -5 penalty to the attack roll. He still gets his strength and magical adjustments to his attack roll. If the attack hits, the character adds his strength bonus, magic scores, and his entire strength score. He adds his strength bonus, magic bonus, and his entire strength score to his weapon's normal damage. Well, that really lets you dish it out there. That's like an all-out attack, but it's only for fighters of certain levels, mystics, and other people at certain levels. So, for example, a strength 17 fighter +2 to attack and damage using a sword +2 to attack for 1d8 +2 damage. He would perform a smash this way. He rolls to hit with a net penalty of -1, +2 +2 -5. If he hits, he rolls 1d8 +21. 17 +2 +2 for damage. Wow. Okay, so that definitely lets you dish it out. The sum of the number rolled on the damage die and the pertinent bonuses the amount of damage the victim takes. So class and level. Oh, okay. So that's what I guess that A through this attack category is. So this is okay. So I don't remember seeing that until it was higher, seeing that on those demi-human class tables until it was higher than 10th anyway. I don't remember that anyway. So, okay, normal man. That is the normal man. But here we are. Let's say that we are a magic user of levels 1 to 5. So everybody's got to look at this. Like I can see somebody saying, okay, we got to simplify this because we don't look at this table every time. So we need this number. So a magic user of 1 to 5 who is attacking an armor class. So our armor class is above here. Armor class 10. That's, you got to roll a 9 or better to hit armor class 0. So armor class keeps going up here, but we should go down. We go down to 0 because our armor class, better armor classes are lower numbers. So if you're attacking somebody who's wearing armor, more like an armor class 5, you've got a 14. So how does that adjust for a fighter? Fighters 1 to 3. Trying to hit. This still has the situation. So a fighter at level 1 through 3. 1 to 3. That's interesting. So the fighter is not going up like in AD&D, okay, one of the features or bugs, depending on how you look at it, is that all first level fighters have the same Thaco. But the fighter decreases Thaco every single level. But they're not doing that here. Of course, we have 13 levels. That lines up really nicely when you've got 20 levels because you've got 20 sides on the attack die. But this time we're going to levels 36. Zero Theory says, what I see are two things being pretty obvious now. They are originally table wargamers, and that really shows, and they literally had no other RPGs to borrow from. This is the original. Yeah. Sable Phoenix says, LOL, this seems so fiddly. Right, because you're right, Zero Theory, that the wargamers, like I've got some old school war games that my uncle had, and we used to play or try to play them. And of course, they were table heavy. So using a table like this to attack unit by unit would be something that a war gamer would be used to. I'm so glad we looked at this for the history of this, because this is so interesting. So it was not this cumbersome. So I realized they tried, I guess also that weapon mastery kind of table is sort of from that too. So it may be that AD&D, and like I said, I've got the second edition books right over here. So like this would be what I would consider. I bought the revised books because I didn't have my own copy, so I bought the reprint books, and I was very glad they did these. So these are actually some of my favorites, favorite books. But somebody was saying that AD&D was the best version, and I can see that because it's like, okay, we're taking all this old school stuff, but it seemed like then, and I said this is second edition, so I don't know what was in the first edition, but at least by AD&D second edition, things like this have been cleaned up and simplified. That we still aren't to the point with AD&D that we actually have like a unified action resolution mechanic. So there's still a lot of, say, arbitrariness on how do you do this or how do you do that. But at least this has been cleaned up. Yeah, second edition had the battle system. I've got the battle system sitting over there. So we should take a look at that one morning. So if you were, Kronos says, if you were wearing armor worth AC 0, then you need an adjusted 20 to hit AC 0. Let's see. So Zero Theory also says, no crit bonus damage. Doing double damage was an always used house rule everywhere, I think. I noticed that. It didn't actually call out a critical hit. I did notice that in that. So that's why. So these are our classes. Cleric, Thief, Magic User, Fighter. Why do I have D over here and H over here? I've got Dwarf, Druid. How do I know which one's Dwarf and which one's Druid? So, and what are these things? So the star. So the star right here is F. Also, Dwarves, Elves, Halflings up to their name. Okay, wait a minute. It's more complicated than that. This says the star, so the F column is used for also Dwarves, Elves, Halflings up to their name levels, and Mystics up to 16th level. So that's why we're not seeing all of them. So the F column is used for Dwarves, Elves, and Halflings up to their named level, and then Mystics up to 16th level. So, okay, so that DH is demi-human, because the two asterisks, demi-human attack ranks for very experienced demi-human characters. Okay, so the Desis here, we've got over here, that is misses only on a natural 1. Add the number shown to the total damage done by the attack. Oh, wait, hold on. Oh, this is more complicated. So if you get down here, that is the Desis, right? The dagger. So we've got the dagger on here. So what does that mean? So if, for instance, okay, this is saying if you're a fighter or you're some other kinds of things, they're using the F column. And so you're a level 10 and you are fighting something that has well, actually, let's go up. Let's say you are level 16 and you are fighting something with a 17 AC. Okay, if you're fighting something with a 17 AC, then you only miss on a natural 1, and you add 4 to your damage. That's what that said, right? Misses only on a natural 1. Add the number shown to total damage done by the attack. So we get to 1. You're going to hit on a 1. Then you hit on a 0. Except for that means you only miss on a 1, but are adding nothing to your damage along this line. And then add an increasing amount of damage over here. So we're going to have to look at... we did briefly look at armor class. I don't remember that being something out of the normal kinds of things that we were looking for. Class and level, all characters. See, although 20 is the maximum unadjusted roll, bonuses may result in a total of 21 or more. Because like, what is this table right here? So this is armor class going down. I thought that was strange that I was like looking at this and it ends at 0. Because I tend to think 10 is unarmored. So how would you would get armor classes that's higher than that? But then we're going down to 0. So armor class 0 is good. But we're going down to armor class -20 here. So if you're hitting armor class 0, you've got 20. But yeah, as armor class continues to go negative, it continues to get harder and harder and harder to hit. And that's why we've got rolls like 25, 29, 30. And it's telling you here, yeah, obviously due to adjustments, although the maximum you can roll is 20, you can get adjustments upward to start hitting other things. So it says armor class worse than 9 are possible due to dexterity and magical penalties. So that's how you would get down. So you're probably not generally playing on that side of things, but it's possible to get less than that if some kind of penalty. Huh. Look at the armor types table to see what they do with AC. So, okay, but then see, this is the table for monsters to hit. No, look here. Look, that's the first time we've seen Thaco. Well, hold on. Let's do that and just look at armor for just a second to make sure what time we got. Let's just look at that, see what that was going on. Weapon armor. Okay. This is giving you your AC. We might have looked at this. So we've got leather armor, scale, it says scale mail, and also chain mail, and banded mail, and plate mail. So this is one of the original reasons why we have this word mail that comes in everywhere that gets infested our role playing here. But okay, so leather armor gives you an AC of 7, scale 6, chain 5, banded 4, plate 3, suit armor 0. And then if you have a shield, you have an additional -1 AC, subtract -1 AC if a shield is used. So yes, somebody wearing a mail shirt, as in chain here, or hauberk or whatever exactly that's supposed to represent. It says, this is a full-size shirt, often including a hood and sometimes including full pants made of interlocking rings of mail. It's worn over a quilted shirt called a gambeson. When someone with a heavy weapon hits a character in chainmail, the gambeson keeps the chain's links from being driven into the flesh. Additionally, it keeps them from being chilled by flesh-to-metal contact in cool weather and from being pinched by rings. So you would have an AC of 5. Guy wearing mail, AC 5. Mail and shield gives you AC 4. Notes, Druid can use this type of armor if it has no metal parts or other inorganic components, parts that have never been alive, or parts or other non-organic components. Suit armor has some very special characteristics. Carefully read the description for this type of armor. Okay, and then a thief can use leather armor. Okay, so that part, like what the ACs are, that does seem pretty standard. That doesn't seem like it changed too much. Hand-to-hand combat. Let's see, where were we? The attack roll. So, okay, so we did come up with Thaco. So is it about to tell us here? The term Thaco stands for to hit armor class 0. If someone needs to roll a 7, not counting any of his additional bonuses or penalties, to hit an armor class of 0, we say he has a Thaco of 7. Many characters and monster descriptions you'll find in published adventures will list the individual's Thaco. This is a convenience for you. So Thaco was created as a convenience to us. Isn't that wonderful? Okay. As inconvenient as we now think that was, it was created as a convenience to us. Since you can quickly calculate a character's chance to hit any armor class from his Thaco, we can do this very quickly. Yes. When a target's AC is worse than 0, meaning 1, 2, 3, etc., you can subtract that AC from his Thaco. Likewise, when a target's AC is better than 0, for instance, -2, -1, -2, you subtract the AC from Thaco score, but remember that subtracting a negative number is the same as adding positive numbers. So, for example, Sinestros is a 13th level fighter. His Thaco from table 11. His Thaco from the table is an 11. To hit an AC of 0, he needs to roll an 11. So they're actually not having you go to that table. They're giving you the entire table so that you can just see what things are. But we do have this idea of Thaco, but it's not. It doesn't specifically call that out. So the Thaco would be this over here. Would be this column over here on this side. So a magic user of levels 1 to 5 has a Thaco of 20. Well, but so does so does all the other character classes. So we're always operating on this line. Well, no, that gives a Thaco of 19 because the normal man has a has a Thaco of 20. The level 1, all of our characters at level 1 have a Thaco of 19. So they do fight better than the normal man. James says, is this going to be the Thaco episode part 2? It could be. Sable says, oh, we have a pronunciation difference here. You've already said Thaco? We've always said Thaco. James says, bless them. Bless the Thaco. I feel weight has been lifted off my shoulders. We always said Thaco. James concurs this. Man, pronunciation has become a big part of this stream. And I think for some reason I didn't say Cairn yesterday. Cairn. I don't know why I say that weird. Yeah, it's the acronym. It didn't give us pronunciation here. Thaco. Yeah, I've just always said Thaco. All right, so that does exist. So that concept is here, but it's something that is presented in table format and not specifically called out. But it's kind of weird. Like this, if this is supposed to be the easier way to do it, then don't send us through the table. So Sinestros is a 13th level fighter. His Thaco from the table is an 11. To hit an AC of 0, he needs to roll an 11. He wants to hit an opponent with an AC of 5. We subtract 5 from 11. He needs to hit the higher AC. The result, 6. He needs to roll a 6 to hit AC 5. On the other hand, let's say he's attacking someone with an AC -4. We subtract the AC from the Thaco number. 11 minus 4 equals 11 plus 4 equals 15. He needs a 15 to hit an AC -4. Attack roll modifiers. Attacking from behind. Attacker can't see target. Larger than man-sized monster attacking a halfling. Target exhausted. Target exhausted is a +2 penalty. Attacker exhausted. I haven't seen exhaustion yet. So then missile weapons. Chapter 8, combat. Hand-to-hand combat. 2-weapon combat. In many fantasy and adventure novels, in the movies, characters fight with 2 weapons, carrying 1 weapon in each hand. If a DM wants to simulate this in his campaign, he may, at his option, allow a character to attack with 2 weapons. In this situation, a character who carries a weapon in each hand gets an additional attack per combat round. Both attacks take place during his hand-to-hand combat phase, one during the other. The attacker can decide each round which weapon he uses first and which he uses second. A second attack is a penalty of -4 to hit, but not to damage. I remember that. Hey, maybe somebody... Now, we don't have a ranger here, but in AD&D, so that's interesting. The ranger's not here, but in AD&D, the rangers often used 2 weapons. Do they have... And now, man, I can't remember that. All this is getting mixed up in my mind now. Are they doing that in 5th edition as well? I mean, they did in 3rd edition, right? But what is the genesis of rangers using two weapons? I don't know the genesis of that. Like, to me, the genesis seems to be AD&D, but I'm not sure what it pulled it from. Maybe it sprang that idea fully formed in that edition, because it's not like a holdover from Aragorn. Like, you would think there maybe it was some type of archetypical fantasy character who was a ranger who did that, and why that's become kind of a characteristic of rangers in Dungeons and Dragons and fantasy games. But it's not Aragorn or Faramir. I mean, that wasn't something that the Rangers of Ithilien or Ithilien. Oh my God, I've always said Ithilien. The Rangers used in any account, so I'm not sure where that comes from. Well, Sable Phoenix says, yeah, Dritz was an elf, and he's a ranger, and so Dritz does. But that wasn't the genesis of rangers doing that. You might be right about that. Dritz was the popular 2-weapon fighter. But when is our first time that Dritz existed? Like, Dritz existed after the publication of AD&D, right? So I know that he's definitely popularized it. I mean, I could be wrong. I don't know. But didn't actually... What was the first appearance of Dritz Duerden? IZZP. Everyone want to make dual-wielding rangers. Dual scimitars. Yeah, dual-wielding scimitars here. But with the first appearance, the Crystal Shard. The Crystal Shard, so his first appearance was in a book called The Crystal Shard, according to Wikipedia, the first in the Icewind Dale trilogy. And it was published in 1988. Oh, by R.A. Salvador. So that was 1988. But AD&D first publication. Well, let's see. This 2nd edition publication. Well, hold on. I got this book right over here. Did Dritz do that? Did Dritz dual wield because... Well, okay, so this was published, this book says right here, it was published in 1989. This is my reprint of the second edition. So this says published in 1989. I guess we need a first edition Dungeons and Dragons. First edition Advanced Dungeons and Dragons book. Ranger. Let's see. I'm just looking at Ranger here. Adept at trained and untrained creatures. Like the paladin, the ranger has a code of behavior. I don't just immediately see something about dual wielding right here. So maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe there wasn't something maybe there wasn't something about dual wielding rangers in 2nd edition. Maybe it was just something that they frequently did. I don't know. Yeah, Twinkle, literally the scariest weapon name ever created, an icing death. So maybe it was. Man, that's an interesting thing to track down. Lots of interesting things come up on this. So maybe I'm misremembering that. So maybe it was Dritz who initialized that. That would be really fascinating. It'd be one of those things that if dual wielding was not actually something that was attached to the Ranger and AD&D, and I just remember it that way. But by third edition, it was, right? So if Dritz became popular, then by third edition, it might have been. We will have to check that. We'll have to run that down. Wrestling optional. We do have rules for stunning and knocking out. Combat effects of flying, aerial combat, special aerial attacks, underwater combat. Mass combat. Okay. Well, we've been going for about 90 minutes. So why don't we continue this tomorrow then, and we'll start with mass combat and see what's going on with mass combat in here, and then go on from there. Now, what do think about if there's some type of news topic that we need to talk about tomorrow? Let me put in the chat link to the Discord server. I just created, like I said, a morning news or news for the grind. So if there are topics that you just see, even if you think people should know about it, news stories or something like that, or releases or something like that, we can put it there, and then we can talk about that in the morning. So we'll come up with some type of topic for the morning. We'll experiment with that. I kind of enjoyed it. I thought our conversation on both the news and this was fantastic today. So, all right, everybody. Let me send you one other link just in case, because tomorrow night, 6:30 p.m., 6:30 p.m., I'm going to be playing Hero Quest. So I'm finally getting back to actually doing one of my streaming shows. So let's go right over here. Streaming game shows. So I'll be streaming Hero Quest. I'll be cooking dinner. Be cooking a steak tomorrow. We'll be doing bacon fried steak. Delightful. And then Hero Quest tomorrow. Please click that link and hit the notify me button. But I will also send out a notification in the Discord server just before I go live. But that's tomorrow at 6:30, and I'm really looking forward to it. So everybody, be productive. No table talk tonight. I wasn't able to line up a guest. So I'll see you tomorrow morning. I'll see everybody tomorrow morning. Be productive. Grind on. Be productive. Be creative. And until tomorrow morning, grind on.